What is up, you guys? It is Jess, and this will be the last video of 2017, so I decided to do a year in review of music. So many great albums, EPs, singles, new bands, projects came out this year, and I was honestly thoroughly impressed with a lot of the stuff that came out this year. I got into so many new bands, and honestly, I never thought that I would like some of these bands, but I ended up completely falling in love with them, and some of them are going to be added to this list. I'm going to be running out my favorite albums and EPs, and then songs that necessarily are not included on an album, or the album hasn't come out yet, but it was released as a single to start off with, and maybe at the end I'll add some bands that I got into that I started listening to this year. So, before I keep babbling, let's get into it. So my top albums of this year, it actually varied because I was anticipating so many new albums this year. You had new Neck Deep, new Paris, new Paramore. You know, those were kind of the three that I was anticipating. But to round out my top albums, I gotta go with Neck Deep, The Peace and the Panic. Absolutely amazing album. I saw these guys on Warped Tour this year. It was absolutely amazing. They're so energetic, and you know, they're so into their fan base, and you know, just the way that they perform on the show and kind of, you know, get in with the crowd. It's absolutely amazing. You know, they were releasing songs from this album around the time that Warped Tour was happening, and as soon as Warped Tour ended was when they were kind of releasing the actual album. And it was absolutely amazing. In Bloom was by far one of my favorite songs off this album. You got Motion Sickness, Happy Judgment Day, you know, songs like that. They're absolutely amazing. And Neck Deep really outdid themselves. This is more kind of on the pop side of pop punk, but Neck Deep does a really, really great job with staying true to who they are, and each of their albums have kind of been different, and this one definitely is a great step from Life's Not Out to Get You. Next one that I was super anticipating this year, and Courage My Love really pulled through with it, is Synesthesia. I actually got my copy signed at Warped Tour. I actually got to meet them. They're, Phoenix, Mercedes, and Brandon are so down to earth, and they are an amazing band to see live. Some of these songs that they put on stage, they had a really short set. They were on one of the smaller stages, so they kind of had to put together a certain amount of songs in a very short time, and they did it so well. Mercedes and Phoenix's harmonies are so great, you know, and Brandon, you know, a lot of the stuff that he adds to these songs is absolutely amazing. My favorite songs off this album: Need Someone, Animal Heart, Stereo, you know, so many great songs. And Courage My Love is another one of those bands who has had a different album every time they've released it. This one's more on like the synth side, and they've done a really, really great job this time with kind of being more like synth pop, alternative, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite kind of non-pop punk albums of this year, and I'm so glad that I got to see them this year on Warped Tour and got to meet them and, you know, talk to them. They're so down to earth, and I can't wait to see what else, you know, they come out with. Next one is a no-brainer. After Laughter by Paramore. This album is pretty much one of the biggest, if not the biggest album of this year. Even, you know, Billboard was saying that it is, you know, a phenomenal album. Paramore has really broken outside of their box. You can definitely tell they've matured, you know, since losing, you know, bassist Jeremy Davis, and, you know, having Zach Farrow, the former drummer that they had, rejoining the band. And this has got a little mix of everything. They've done a really great job with adding kind of different genres in each one. They've done a really great job with adding a mixture of genres. Fake Happy is pretty much the #1 song of the year, I would say, at least what Billboard had said. Fake Happy was the #1 song of the year, and it's a no-brainer. You know, after winning a Grammy for Ain't It Fun, Paramore kind of had to step up because, you know, the self-titled album was an amazing album. It was phenomenal. This one had to kind of either be a step sideways or a step up. I definitely think they stepped it up with this one. It kind of threw me off when I heard Hard Times the first time because it was kind of more like islandy, but it's amazing. The way this band performs on stage is absolutely amazing. They've got a lot more going on, and you can definitely tell that the band has matured, and this has become the biggest album, if not one of my favorites this year, and I can't be prouder of one of my favorite bands. I don't have the physical copy for the next choice, but it is I'm the Sin by The Beautiful Monument. TBM has become one of my favorite bands that I got into this year. I found them, I think it was an ad in Alternative Press, and I just kind of looked them up and I absolutely fell in love. They remind me of a female version of A Day to Remember, and I'm not taking that lightly because they are kind of on the harder side of music. They've got a lot of drop tuning, a lot of crazy stuff going on. Manifestation is one of my favorite songs. Disorder, Perceptions, Justify, songs like those are absolutely amazing on this album. And they're not scream vocals, but they do have the harder side of the instrumentals with their music, and they put it all together really well. They actually had a really big year. They did a tour with Tonight Alive in Australia, and honestly, that's amazing because this band is not signed. They're pretty independent, and they got hand-chosen to do a tour with Tonight Alive, which is another one of my favorite bands. And I just think that there is so much coming to this band, and if they don't get picked up next year on a record label, I'm going to be writing some letters because they are absolutely amazing. My number one album for the year, I can't go talking about it. You already know it's coming. I'm already wearing this shirt. It is Sidewinder by Stand Atlantic. Holy crap, this album is absolutely amazing. It's not an album, it's an EP, but it's amazing. It's only got like 5 songs on it, but it really showcases what Stand Atlantic is. They've had a really big year. They've done a tour with Rome in the UK and Europe. They've toured Australia. Still waiting for them to come to the US so I can play on stage with them for Coffee at Midnight. But if they ever come to the States, I'm definitely going to try and go. I heard they're amazing live. I've seen some of their live stuff on YouTube, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And just, the way that they are as a band, like, I'm super huge fan of female-fronted bands, and this has become one of my favorite bands just because they're in the pop-punk realm, because everybody thinks Paramore is the main pop-punk band. I beg to differ. I think there's multiple ones, and Stand Atlantic, I think, has the potential to be as big as Paramore if they keep up what they're doing. This is absolutely amazing. They're in the ballpark of State Champs, Neck Deep, Real Friends, bands like that. I think they have the potential to be one of the biggest pop-punk bands possibly ever. They toured with New Found Glory out of all bands. That's an amazing thing to do. They got signed to Rude Records this year, and they've just had everything coming to them this year, and I can't wait to see what they release in 2018. My top songs and singles for the year. Now, these could be songs that were independently released off of an album that hasn't been released yet, or just singles in general. Some honorable mentions that I want to bring in. So the top singles, these are ones that are not released on an album yet. It is Floods, their song Currents. I didn't think we were going to get a Floods return until 2018. They were originally a band called Mirror Eyes, and then they transferred to Floods. They are signed to Invoke Records, and they were saying, oh, we're going to release some stuff, but I thought it was going to be in 2018. Literally like a couple weeks before Christmas, they're like, hey, we're dropping a single. It's called Currents. It's absolutely amazing. I didn't expect for Emily to actually be the vocalist on this, but she does it really, really well. It's got more synth to it as Courage My Love does on Synesthesia, but it's an absolutely amazing single, and I think it's a really strong start to what they're going to be putting out for their first album. I believe is coming out in 2018. Between You and Me, they're a new band on Hopeless Records. I've actually kind of known about them for a while. They're another band from Australia. Their single, Overthinking, was the first single that they released off their signing for Hopeless Records. And their sound, Heaven With You, absolutely amazing. I heard the demo, and I pretty much cried, and then when I found out that they were actually putting it on Layers, I pretty much just was full on listening to it, and I I can't say anything bad about it because it's an absolutely amazing song. Dan and Alexa are really, really vulnerable, especially in the video, and it just rounds out everything. Air sound low. So this thing was pretty much the way that they were telling us, hey, we're going on a hiatus. And of course I was sad with that, but Low is an absolutely beautiful song. It's predominantly sung by Dane, and I think that's amazing. Alexa does amazing backing vocals on it, and it's a very, very beautiful song, and I love it. So my top songs for this year. So I'm going to add Tonight Alive, Temple in this because it is going to be on the Underworld album, but they released it as a single first, but I'm going to add it to the song category because it's going to be on an album. Temple, you can definitely tell, was a very vulnerable spot for Jenna, and it was pretty much the first single that they released off their new album after they got signed to Hopeless Records. It's absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, one of my favorite members left the band, Wake Otahi, and he is not in the video, but I believe he does have some writing credits on this album, so hopefully we'll at least get that. Need Someone by Courage My Love. It's absolutely one of my favorites off of Synesthesia. So, Neck Deep, I gotta give it to In Bloom. This year, In Bloom has got to be one of my favorites. It's a beautiful song. Ben does a really, really crazy, amazing job with the vocals on this, and just the way that he pretty much tells a story, and the video with the pastel colors, it's absolutely beautiful, and the band really outdid themselves on this song, and it's definitely different than what we were used to, but it's definitely still got the Neck Deep vibes to it. Rome, Playing Fiction. I've had this song stuck in my head since the first time I heard it. I found out about Rome because Stan Atlantic was touring with them. So, number one song of the year has to go to Paramore, Fake Happy. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too into it at first, but once you really listen to the lyrics, you kind of have to relate to it, because there's a lot of times you have to fake a smile and pretend that you're happy when you're really not. And Paramore kind of pretty much wrote a song to everyone's emotions, pretty much. And it's a beautiful song. You know, Paramore does it really well live, and it's got to be the number one song of the year, if not ever. I'm going to add The Beautiful Monument, Manifestation on here. It's one of my favorite songs to play on and off guitar. It's got amazing guitar parts, just like the main little kind of riff that's in the beginning is absolutely amazing. It's kind of played on a couple of different spots throughout the song. And the lyrics are absolutely amazing. And the video is really, really great too. You know, it's pretty much just the girls in the house playing, you know, this song, and it's a heavy song. It's very dark, but it's one of my favorite songs of the year, and I'm so glad I got to find out who The Beautiful Monument was. And of course, I gotta give it to Stan Atlantic once again. They released Sidewinder and Coffee at Midnight. Those are two of my favorite songs off their EP, and you know, Sidewinder is a beautiful song, even though it's pretty much about kind of letting go, but it's more laid back than what Coffee at Midnight is. I think Coffee at Midnight is more hyped up, but I think that's just because of like a lot of I think that's just because of the guitar part that goes along with it. Both songs are absolutely amazing. This band, I don't think, will be losing traction anytime soon. So that is it, guys. That is my music year in review for 2017. I don't know what to expect from 2018. I think the only album I'm kind of anticipating right now that I know of is Underworld by Tonight Alive. I definitely think that is one of the most anticipating albums for 2018 for me. I don't really know what else is coming out at the moment, but I'm sure you'll hear about it once I figure it out, or once I hear about it. But yeah, if there's nothing else, I'm Jess. See you later.